Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a Public Works podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman, and today we got a real treat for you. His name is James Peters, the water recycling man. James, say what's up to everybody.
Good afternoon, good evening. Hello. Thank you for having me on your podcast, Joseph. Here
Sure thing.
to share.
Sure thing. So you and I, we just missed each other at the AWWA Florida chapter. Of course, I go on LinkedIn and I look around and I see you're just talking to a ton of people. You're getting around, shaking and baking and moving and grooving. Thinking, how did I miss this guy at the show? He seems like he's everywhere. It seems like he's everybody's best friend. Tell us what you were doing at the show, and then we'll kind of get into the product and then also a little bit more about you.
Well, thanks for that perspective. And you're right. We both run in circles, and the circles didn't collide. But I certainly saw you there, and you were also busy interviewing people. And I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to meet in person. I attend a tremendous amount of the AWWA and the CWWA events throughout North America. And I'm pleased that you see me all over, because I do. I travel all over North America helping cities.
Yeah. And I could tell that, the product that you have is one of those that, people look at it with the untrained eye and go, what is that? And then they got somebody like, James Peters behind it, and he's repping it. So give us kind of a 30,000 foot view of what your product is. And then we'll start talking into how it can help out people in the community and also cities alike.
100%. First of all, cities are our only customer, if there is such a thing. Ultimately, 13 years ago, I was in New York City as part of the Social Enterprise Network as a member of the World Presidents Organization. And I got freaking branded to solve the water crisis. And I didn't even know what the water crisis was. So for 13 years, I've been trying to help cities figure out what to do when they run out of water. And I've been through California for over a decade, and I've seen 40-foot billboards saying, when the heck is the damn city going to fix this water crisis? They point at the city. And respectfully, in those 13 years, not a lot has changed. So in a nutshell, what we do is we help cities go from water bankrupt to water positive by empowering their residents to recycle water at home. And we do that right now. This isn't talk. We're manufacturing in North America. We're at scale, and we do this together. But the only place that residents can get the products that we've created are through cities and water departments. So there's where our circles overlap.
Sure. And, when the resident hears about what you do, hears about your product, what's usually like that barrier for them to drive down to the city and say, hey, we want that product? What usually gets in their mind? They're thinking like, oh, it's too good to be true, or, oh, I haven't seen this on Oprah or on the, haven't seen it in the airplane magazine. So what's usually that question that pops into a consumer's mind that goes, before I go down to the city, let me think about this first.
100%. That's a great observation. And I'm going to answer it the best I can, because quite honestly, I don't know. I've interviewed many people, and I'd love to know. People seem to get it, but it's been a challenge. Now, I did a TED Talk recently, and it went viral, which is pretty cool. And you can find it on our website, showerpot.org. The cool thing is that most people want to see it working. People are visual and tangible. They want to touch it, feel it, smell it, whatever they want to do. And they just have a hard time wrapping their brain around it. The TED Talk explains 12 years of research and development in just 12 minutes. So it's a really good resource. And that's what residents, the general public, see, as well as cities for sure. But my challenge has been, I think the biggest barrier, Joseph, is people think it's too simple. Yeah. If you remember back, you're probably you're certainly not as old as I am. I mean, you may not be old enough, but which is a nice problem. I'd change you, but 43 years ago, I ended up with a yellow plastic bag and a blue plastic bag on my lawn with some rocks in it so it didn't blow away. And I'm thinking, what the heck is that? That became our recycling. That evolved into the yellow and blue bins that we call the Blue Bin Recycling Initiative. And that was put out by Kitchener, Ontario 43 years ago.
Wow.
And so working to solve the water crisis, because we are in a water crisis, I can explain it time permitting, but we need to close the gap. And close the gap means to bring where we're at now and where we need to be as close as possible together. And people have heard water conservation. It's like blah, 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 everybody's heard it. It's like an old worn out cliche, but people get recycling. 94% of us still buy into and support recycling. 74% thinks it should be our priority. So what I did is I brought the two together. I said, okay, you got recycling and you got water conservation. Here's the marriage, the nexus. So then I set out to figure out, okay, if we're going to advocate recycling water or using water twice, thus cut the consumption in half, which works for conservation, which I'll show you how it's going to cut the city's costs in half too, which is pretty interesting. But ultimately, by bringing the two together, people already have the concept of recycling. It's something that we all do. It's something we all know we have to do, and we don't get paid for it. The cool thing about recycling water is you actually do get paid for it. And I'll explain that too, which is really amazing. Yeah. So to me, I'm biased. I've been doing this for 13 years. If I didn't believe in it, I'd have to quit, but recycling water is the simplest and most important recycling we'll ever do. Other than oxygen, there's nothing on earth that is more vital to our existence than water. And the poor cities are busting their butts trying to match budgets and supply and demand and infrastructure and repairs and mitigation and climate and all this. It's a nightmare. So my perception has been that cities have been looking at this as this isn't working. We're not keeping up. So we better increase the price and that'll fix it. Well, that hasn't proven to move the needle in the positive direction, only the negative direction. Demand has gone further. Supply is going down. Raising the price isn't working. So they overlay penalties, increase the fines, increase the penalties, increase the price. And what's happened is it's made water exclusive. It's for the people that can afford it. One of the stories that I get choked up even thinking about is I've lots of friends in Michigan. I'm very fond of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and been many times and everything else. But, right through COVID, a third of Detroit had no water to flush their toilets or wash their hands. Washing your hands was the single most effective defense to dying from COVID. Yeah. The reason they had no water, Joseph, it wasn't because they're not sitting on the Great Lakes. They couldn't afford it. Water's not cheap. And yet cities view it as too cheap. So ultimately, how do you bring it all together? And I think most cities, most people would feel that if we could double the amount of water we'd have, we wouldn't have a problem. The challenge is the population is doubled and the supply has gone down.
Yeah.
So there's such a separation. And, I speak of water bankrupt. I've been talking about it for years, but it's really a buzzword right now. And that simplified, boiled down, all that means is if your outflow is greater than your inflow, you're bankrupt. Just like if your spending habits are more than your earning habits or your earning capability, you're going bankrupt. And then what happens when we shortfall, if we keep a connection to money for a minute, you go to your savings account, right? We grow up thinking that the savings accounts are for what? For what kind of day? A rainy day, right?
Rainy. Yeah.
Right. So here's the twist. The irony, I just got goosebumps for the first time, means we're on track here. The irony is water savings accounts, or piggy banks as I like to call them, are for not rainy days, for the days we don't have the rain, because the rain does replenish the aquifers, but in many cases it can take 400 years for that rain to get to the aquifer. It's not an instant thing. It's not like the bucket is open. But at any rate, so back to where we're at, we've been unsustainable for, by my observation, I think 4 decades, but certainly over a decade. And we've been relying on our piggy banks, our savings accounts. They're drying up. They're not finite. The challenge is we're not seeing them. It's hard. They're just learning now how to photograph from space the aquifers to try to get a read on where they're at. But many cities I've been dealing with have already had to shut down wells because they're sucking salt water at best. And that's a big problem. And then cities think, okay, no problem, we'll just desalinate. California is just emerging from a 25-year drought. They had 2 of the largest state-of-the-art desal plants in the world, and they didn't run them. It's not the answer. And the effluent from desal plants is hypersalinated water, which is deadly. That's the Dead Sea. In addition, we're all supposed to be headed for net zero 2050. The carbon footprint and the petroleum demand, the fuel it takes to run a desal plant is brutal. It's going the wrong way. So how do we do it? We turn the whole thing upside down. If we agree that twice the supply would fix it. All right, here's the key. And I learned this from very high level. Anyway, 50% of the water we consume, we waste, most of which just goes down the drain. So another old adage is a penny saved is a penny earned, right? So we can achieve the same benefit by eliminating the waste, using water twice as we would by doubling the volume. To double the volume, we're talking tens of billions of dollars in maybe a decade to be able to do that. That's not the answer, and it's not fast enough. Like the Colorado River conflict states, they're overdue. They got to do something now, and they're not. They're doing a lot of this. That's not working, and the pressure's on. The other thing is, huge amount, up to 30%, I think, with cities, and some cities even more, waste water with leaks in their infrastructure and transmission. Well, if 50% of the water we're consuming is short cycled because it goes down the drain, the city has to process it twice, which means it passes by those leaks twice. Theoretically, that could be 60%. That's huge. Cut the consumption in half. Half the water passes those leaks, half the waste, we're down to 15% waste from 60%. Huge savings. The other thing that's pivotal, and here's where cities can really benefit, I learned this from Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser, Stella, and Corona. Huge. They had an in-house interdepartmental competition to see which department could reduce their water consumption the most without affecting the product. Do you know? It was unsung. I had to dig deep to find that. And you know what the results from that competition was?
No, what is it?
They cut their water consumption in half.
Wow.
But it came with a big Christmas present. Do you know what no one saw coming? It cut their energy consumption in half. So what happened is their consumption went down, their costs went down, and their profits went up. Everybody won. That's the way these large corporations, Campbell Soup did the same thing. Campbell Soup took it another step further. With their renewed thinking, they actually went further up supply chain, and they learned how to cut the water needed to grow their tomatoes, the largest crop, by 30%. Cities can do the same thing. And for cities that are misunderstanding what we do here, they could easily replicate what Anheuser-Busch or Campbell's did. Do an interdepartmental competition to see which department could do a better job of reducing their consumption. Then they get the departments working together, collaboration. Because what I've seen, and maybe you have when you were in that part of the industry. They're all doing their thing behind cubicles. There's not a lot of unified work. This is about unity. It's about inclusion. It's about collaboration. So now you got the city all working together because they get this thing. And then they just roll it out to their residents with confidence. They already know how to work it. They already know the benefits, and we all win. Just like Anheuser-Busch did. We get half the way to net zero 2050. Our consumption is 50%, and cities worry about that's their revenue stream. But again, back to a penny saved is a penny earned. 50% of the energy a city uses is to deal with that water. And they've got to factor in the wear and tear and the frequency in which they've got to repair their infrastructure and grow it bigger. That is all delayed so that those costs go down. So ultimately, the cities win, the residents win, the climate wins, the environment wins.
Wow. You're stepping on some toes here. I kind of want to address that a little bit, which
100%.
a guy like me, I appreciate you, being able to speak on things a lot of people are kind of timid to speak on. The water reuse industry, desalination, all these different ways to be able to get more people more water. These are billion-dollar industries, multi-hundreds of $100 million industries. It's kind of like that dichotomy of, does your chiropractor really want to fix you? Because if he does fix you, he'll never see you again. So what's the incentive for like, let's say a water reuse company association, or even like a white paper or a book, they have zero incentive on saying, hey, this shower pot can cut half or add 50% more water, and they cut half the cost in energy. So what's some of the pushback that you get from, let's just say, a legacy industry that says, hey, what you're doing is super simple, but we got to make it complicated because that's what keeps our lights on.
100%. That is a real problem. You nailed it. Here's the situation, and here's my take on it. That same convention that we were running in circles with but missed each other, the AWWA one, and I don't want to get too specific. There was a gentleman from a city that came up to me, and I said, congratulations, you guys are doing great and all that. And he leaned in and he said, we don't want to save water. We want to sell more water. We're in the business of selling water. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's where what came out of my mouth was shame on you. And that's terrible. I don't want to step on toes. You're 100% right. But what I'm trying to advocate is, along with selling more comes all the other problems. If we simply look at this thing differently, the reason I think they want to feel necessary to sell more is to try to make the whole thing work. The numbers don't crunch. Again, I think the key is, a penny saved is a penny earned. A gallon saved is a gallon made. Making more water, I'm friends with several people from desal, with water from air and all the rest of it. They use a lot of power. And the reason that our climate's changing is basically fossil fuel. We're burning fossil fuel, which is messing up the environment. The long-term effects outweigh the short-term cash in. And it's unfortunate. A lot of other countries, and I don't want to step on countries' toes, but we as North Americans use a ridiculously disproportionate amount of water. We've grown up with, give me more now, I can afford it. That doesn't work, and it doesn't work with the environment. You got to look at the whole picture. And the other thing is that as that separates and people get more pain because water is more expensive and people aren't affording it, there becomes dissension. There becomes a separation between the city and the utilities and the residents.
Oh, we're already seeing that. Yeah.
100%. We need to unify that. The way to do that is help each other. And the cool thing is, much like Anheuser-Busch, we help the environment, we help the bottom line, we even help the shareholders, which the shareholders of cities theoretically is the taxpayers. We just have to turn this thing around and look at a big picture. And as far as jobs, there's all kinds of jobs. Just because we're ramming our equipment to the max doesn't mean there's more jobs. And running out of water, There is no jobs. If you've got no water to sell, you got no jobs. You know, if you're fixing machinery that's sucking wind, you got no jobs. So we just need to step back. When you see my TED talk, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be aggressive or arrogant to that point. I hope you do. I'll show you and walk you through why water demand is up 3,200%. That's wild, man. It just doesn't
Right.
work. And the population doubled. So we got to change. We've got to stop doing what we're doing. You know, it was uh, Einstein that said, we cannot solve a problem using the same minds that created it.
Yeah.
You know, with respect, I've been in this industry for 13 years now. I've not seen any significant change from the suppliers, from the cities. They're doing more of the same. It's not working. We're drifting further from where we need to be. We need to turn it upside down and bring it all back together. That's how we can do it. It's simple.
Yeah. The you say the city is the customer, meaning the city can use your product, deliver it, give it to the city constituents, and they can partner. That's the marriage there. What's usually some of the head scratchers that you get, some of the questions they ask you, just so you can preemptively answer them?
100%, 100%. I love that I'm learning and you're learning, and hopefully your audience are learning, because it's never been done before. And I hate to take my own kick in the butt, but I don't know the answers. But what I have heard is we don't have the budget for it. Yes, we do. It's so small, it's actually within discretionary spending of most cities. Most cities have a toilet efficiency rebate. That's just
Yeah.
about done its thing. They've got staff and they've got budget for it. All they need to do is reallocate it. The whole program of water recycling is less than most cities give away for a one and done toilet upgrade. Simple. So they do have the budget for it. That was the big one that I'd heard. The next I heard was, well, we don't have infrastructure for it. I said, you know what? I got recycling bins in my garage. I don't know how they got there, but they came from the city. So they got there. You've got the infrastructure. You've got the ability to get the recycling bins out. And when I need another one, I can call and I can get another one. When I move, I get another one. In addition, it's a huge part of a city's expense to pay guys to go pick up the recycling stuff, put it in a truck, drive it back, process it, sort it. Some of it shipped to other countries. With recycling water, it's all done at point of use. There's no additional cost. There's no electricity cost. There's no ongoing cost for cities. And there's even an incentive program, Joseph, where residents can literally earn awards and earn money for doing it. You literally get paid beyond saving money and water. It's just a win-win-win, really easy. It's turning it all upside down.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I mean, it takes a special person to go, you know what? There's got to be a better way. And it also takes a person who's saying, we could figure this out. I have a solution for it. And for 13 years, you've been knocking on doors saying, hey, this too can help you out. Um, I guess in closing, what are some of the things that you want to get across to those the city constituents to say, hey, it's okay to try it out? Or even, do you have pilot programs? Do you have a way to so they can try it out on the I don't want to say cheap, but I want to say, because, especially with my journey with working with public agencies, is there's a certain risk when trying a new product, software, or whatever. It's that risk of like, oh, this didn't work, and they get egg on their face, you know,
100%.
or like the incentive isn't there for trying something new and it working. There's a disincentive for them trying something new and it not working. And that disincentive outweighs the incentive. So can you talk to that a little bit?
100%, 100%. There's an expression that people throw around called NIM2, not in my term of office. Let somebody else deal with it. It's also called
I love it.
yeah, it's
I love
also
it.
called cognitive dissonance. The problem
Yeah.
is so complex, brains just go. So you know what I'd like to say? There's a cheesy old advert on TV. Try it. You'll like it. What I'd recommend is we just do a pilot program in-house like Anheuser-Busch did. It'll become clear. And the cool thing is, you'll unify your staff. You'll have the engineers working with the public outreach, with the recycling people, and you have this team. You know, I'm working with Seattle. Seattle won the Super Bowl. And one of the interviews said, "How come you guys never won before, but now you win? You win now." And it was amazing. What it was they turned the whole culture around and they worked together. This is what we can do with a city. And that's what Anheuser-Busch did. Amazing. That's what Campbell Soup did. Amazing. And if you look at the structure of these large corporations and smaller cities, or cities, period, they're very similar. They're all doing their thing in their department, trying to make ends meet. And then all the ends meet, hopefully meet, and they don't. Right. And a lot of it is just lost because they're each doing a portion of somebody else's. This brings us all together, and it brings in the residents, which are pissed off. They're looking for the city to do something. And the city can talk about, okay, we're going to put in a desal plant and your taxes will go up X and we'll pay for it over the next 100 years. And it'll hopefully be installed in the next 20 years. We don't have that time. This is days, weeks. We can supply a modest sized city in a week. There's nothing else. Desal, water from air, those are great solutions, but they're all about how to get more. Ultimately, we can do one of two things. We can wait to figure out how to get more at a greater cost and then pass that cost on to the residents, or we can work with what we've got. Recycling technically doubles. We use it twice. We use half as much. Half the waste, half the wear and tear, half the cost to the city. It makes sense, but it's all about turning things around. And the last thing I wanted to mention is Steve Jobs, pretty cool guy. If he was still with us, he changed the world. All right. I got a cell phone that's damn near glued to me, but he said all industries are revolutionized by people outside the industry. This is an out of the box, out of the industry approach.
Yeah.
But to me, it makes the most sense. So many people have told me it's a no-brainer. Well, my brain is trying to figure out how to assure people and to take the fear away. Yeah, let's do it. We've got several cities lined up to do in-house, interdepartmental, collaborative competitions. Simple. We can even overlay the gamification program, and the staff can go home with money and awards.
Okay.
Come on, it's easy.
And
the thing that's amazing, it amazes me that in the process, it actually challenges you. There's no rules, no penalties, no fines, not even meters on it. It just, you're encouraged to do a little bit better each day. And I believe most of us, all of us, are good. If we get a chance to do a little bit of the solution, a little bit of good every day before we go off to work, we're going to feel a little better, and we're going to do the same thing at work.
100%.
That's it.
Those little incremental improvements for sure.
100%. Just got goosebumps again. That's what it's about. It's about turning it around, looking at it differently. One of my mentors and former neighbors was Wayne Dyer. He said, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. We've got to change. The old, more of the old isn't working. We're going the wrong way. Turn it around. This is easy. This is free. This is immediate. And it's all made in North America. This is domestic stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 3 recycling bins for water and a recycling toilet modification. DIY in 3 minutes, and those homes become water recycling. Done.
Boom. Boom. James, this has been great. Anything I didn't ask you, or do you want to shout out your links or where people can find more about you?
I appreciate it. I mentioned the TED Talk, and we're a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit foundation. Our website is simply showerpot.org, www.showerpot.org. You'll find the TED Talk that came out, went viral. It's one of the only show and tell TED Talks ever done. So you'll not only learn about it, but you'll see it, which is pretty cool. And it was actually done in Missouri. And I don't want to get sidetracked, but I was thinking, Missouri, What's that? What are they about? But I remembered, what is Missouri known for? They are the what state?
Show me state.
There you go, 100%. Most people know that. So I thought, okay, I'll fix me, not them.
Yeah.
I'll do a show and tell TED Talk. So I had my script, then I had to do a demo script and then put it together. And anyway, it came off and went viral. So
Nice.
they can see the whole thing in 12 minutes. The only people that can make this happen are cities and utilities. It's the only way residents can get them. We're not set up to B2C. This is B2B. They're only designed from concept to help cities change the inevitable. And I think the first thing would be to realize that most cities don't realize they're water bankrupt. When there's more outflow than inflow, it's not working.
Yep.
And they're trying to patch it with finding more water and more money and more budget. It's not working. We can turn it all around and alleviate the pressure.
Yeah, sure. Well, James, once again, thanks for hopping on the podcast. Thanks for sharing your wealth of information and knowledge with us. To all the listeners out there, share this with your city. Share this with the people who work in your city and say, hey, maybe we should give this a shot and see what it does. Because you'd be surprised what kind of impact the city constituents make on a city. James, thanks for hopping on. This has been the Public Works Podcast, and thank you everybody for tuning in.